Yeah, you want to close that door? Testing, testing. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2016 budget hearings. Um, let's rise for a prayer and we'll do the pledge and we'll get started. Reverend Giles, can you?
Our Father, our God, as we come this morning, we first and foremost thank you for all that you've done in our lives. As we come, Lord, we seek your guidance, your wisdom, as well as understanding in this matter, even right now. We pray for counsel and administration, dear Master, as we come together to seek solutions to the problem that's faced us even right now. We pray, Lord God, that you would give us financial wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that we can do the things that's pleasing in your sight. We pray for our dedicated employees even right now, Lord God. We pray for administration and counsel. And Lord God, help us even right now to find the things that's pleasing your sight. We love you. We thank you, Lord God. We pray for our president right now, Mr. Ed Terrio. Pray for our council chairman, Mr. Kurt Lapine, as well as those that represent various districts. Now, Lord God, lead and guide us in your ways, and we'll forever give your name the praise, the honor, and glory. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen. Amen.
To the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We don't have an agenda today, but we do have a schedule that's pretty tight. We got a lot of people who want to talk. We got a lot of people who want to meet. So I'm going to probably turn it over to Mr. Surpass and try to work out a format, try to work out a process of how we're going to go through this. And we'll go from there. We have some ideas of how we want to handle the amendments, how we want to handle different departments. So, Mr. Surpass, would you take it here and we'll go over the format?
Well, before we move forward, I'd like the record to reflect that this is actually the 2017 budget hearing.
2017, okay.
Correct. 2017 budget hearing.
Mr. Surpass?
All of you should have the agenda, the schedule that we passed out. This is just a guide. Y'all can go by this if you want to. I mean, it's not it's going to go through every department. It's going to take quite a bit of time, so that's why I set this up. You can see there's not a whole lot of time for each different department, so whatever the council decides to do, that's the way we can do this. Any amendments, I'm just going to kind of go through a few things at the beginning to see how y'all kind of want to handle this. Any amendments that y'all decide to do, we tried to draw up pretty much every amendment that we could think of, just to have it in the computer system, so it'd be done ahead of time. Any amendments y'all would like to do, I would think the best way to do this is request the amendment as we go through the departments. We'll set them on the side and we'll have a stack of them. Then at the end of the meeting, I think we should go through and then look at those amendments, because if we start voting on these things as we go through, then what's going to happen is the first departments are going to probably get all the funds, since there's a limited amount of funding, and then the ones at the end, get cheated. So I think that would be the best way to go if that's the way y'all decide to do it. It's up to you. There are a couple amendments that we have at the beginning, and I'll go through those after we get started. It's a revenue amendment and the one for the health insurance. I think we should take that up first. That'll adjust your fund balance at that time, and then we'll know where we start. Any questions on any of that? I mean, is everybody good with that?
Any questions? Good?
Okay.
Okay, Mr.
First thing I wanted to do was touch on a few things in the budget message. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm sure everybody read this thing already. But I just want to touch on a few things to make sure we know. You're talking about fund balances and that kind of stuff. If you look at the first page of the budget message, the first, it's probably the third paragraph after that. It's the first paragraph after that list. This budget, the estimated revenues exceed the total amount of proposed expenses. You can see that when we look at the fund balances, you'll see that. but achieving the cuts required the elimination of several departments, as well as reduction in personal services, operating services, capital outlay, and numerous other departments. Due to the uncertainty of oil prices, which affects all aspects of the parish economy, I urge the council to use caution when considering reduction of available fund balances. Any decrease of these funds will limit the ability of the parish administration and council to effectively respond to unforeseen disasters and to provide the basic services required for the safety and the well-being of the parish residents. So basically what I'm saying is there are some fund balances out there, but I would be very careful when you're taking that out. You know, that's all we have left. Last year was able to do this because we had a lot of capital projects. This year you don't have that. All you have is the fund balances that we're going to go through. Also, you got to think about this. If you use those fund balances up, we get available grant that comes up, and we have to have a match. Well, we won't have the funds to do that. It's just some things to think about. Your unreserved and designated fund balance. Your unreserved and designated fund balance, where we're starting off, is $1,828,000. That is going to be adjusted by the revenue amendment I just talked about and the insurance, the health insurance. This budget proposes a transfer of $3,103,000 for the fund balance designated for bond indebtedness. And what we're proposing is to leave 1 year's bond payment of $8,758,250 in the bond indebtedness designation. Oil and gas revenues are based on $45 a barrel and $2 per MCF gas. If you look at the little chart on page 2, at the top of page 2, it kind of gives you an idea of where, what happened with the oil and gas royalties. If you look in 2013, our total revenues were $42 million for oil and gas royalties. We're proposing in this budget $15 million. That's a difference of $26 million from 2013 to 2017. So that gives you an idea of why we're in the situation we're in. A couple other things is the revenues. If you look down a couple of paragraphs, this budget includes an increase in the boat harbor fee revenues, which was adopted, and that's going to be on January 1st, coming into effect. The bills are going to go out probably in 2 weeks. It also includes a proposed increases in permit fees. Now, this is something y'all didn't pass yet. So if it's something you're not going to do, or you think you're not going to do, then we're probably going to, it's about $200,000 or something we're going to have to take out of this budget. Also, there is a charge for the reimbursement from the port for things such as them using our legal department, for them using the civil service department. I think that number is about $200,000. We'll go through that when we get to that line item. The next line is one that really concerns me, is the fire department fund. This fund, we started out at a deficit of about $5 million. We were able to, taking out some of the requests that he made, we were able to get it around $3 million. After that, we had to take out a bunch of personal services. There's over 40 layoffs in the firefighting fund. So it's definitely something we're going to have to look at. Other things we need to consider is increase in fees. I mean, we talked about this before. We have increased the boat harbor fees, which helped a lot. We need to look at recreation fees, ambulance fees, occupational license fees, ferry fees again. Any surcharges we could put on that's going to help us, like with drainage and flood control. It's just stuff to think about. The designation for emergencies is $5.6 million. This started out about $1.5 million, and throughout the year, through the council's actions, I think 3 or 4 times, you took out the vacancies and unbudgeted, and it's got up to $5.6 million, which is a healthy emergency fund balance. But I would just, like I said, I'll caution before y'all start taking this out. All it takes is one disaster, one storm, and this wipes this out within a week. So the budget includes the elimination of funding for majority of vacant positions and for 91 filled positions, classified and unclassified, from the current manpower table. Budget includes no funding for merit or cost increase, cost of living increases except for the ones that's legally required by state law. Additionally, funding for several community service grants were reduced or eliminated. YMCA, Council on Aging, you'll see that when we go through the budgets. Also, we talked about this throughout the year. Anything you do, any of the stuff you put back in is going to affect our cash availability. This year, I've told you all along, I thought we was going to run out of money before the end of the year. We had some settlements that came in that helped us out and helped us get through the end of the year. Y'all took some money out of bond indebtedness and put that over. That helped us to get through 2016. But in 2017, without those kind of things coming in, we're definitely going to have a cash shortage before the end of the year. No doubt about that. So keep that in mind too when you're looking at the expenses. Anything you put back in is going to affect our cash balance. That's really all I have on the budget message. If you have any questions, anything, we can discuss that now. If not, I would suggest that we go over to the fund balance summary. It's the white tab, first white tab. And this is a new report that we put in. We added to everyone's books. Since we put the books out in October, we've had two council meetings. So we updated this report to reflect those council meetings. Y'all didn't do much that affected the fund balances, but this is a new report just to show you anyway. If you look at the first column, the general fund, this is the one that's we're most concerned with. The general fund, you look at the revenues, as I said, the revenues exceeded the expenses. Revenues $36,184,000, expenses $36,101,000, with a surplus of $83,000. We started off, the expenses were over $40 million. We have a report in the back too that shows what the departments asked for and what we actually had to cut back to, so you can see each department how much we actually had to cut from what they asked for to what's in this book. So you'll be able to see that. I think the general fund was almost $11 million we had to cut out of, $16 million total that we had to cut out of all funds. If you go back and look at the available fund balances, as we had discussed earlier, emergencies, $5,006,000. Designation for self-insurance, which is $3,050,000. This designation is set up to keep our insurance premiums low, so this is really not something you can fool with. The bond indebtedness, 1 year's bond payment, like I told you, $8,758,250. FEMA projects, there's $1 million in there, and this $1 million has been sitting there for years, and it's there to when all the FEMA projects are closed out, stuff that's been de-obligated, this is money to help us cover that. This is not something I wouldn't deal with either. The $5,512,000 below it is the same thing, but it has to do with Hurricane Isaac. Hurricane Isaac, as we all know, is at 75-25 FEMA and the parish share.
Okay.
That's where it's at right now. We budgeted at 90-10. And the reason we did that, all the consultants at that time told us it would be 90-10. Well, it's still not there yet. So this $5 million is to cover that difference if it doesn't go to the 90-10. So I would not fool with this until this thing is totally, completed and final. So this $5 million is something I wouldn't touch either. So you basically gonna have three things to deal with. Emergencies with the $5,006,000, the bond indebtedness, which is the $8,007,000, and the unreserved undesignated, which is $1,008,000. Last year when we did this budget, we was able to give you a list of all the capital projects that were there. And y'all took a lot of those out to put positions back, to put departments back and things like that. But unfortunately, this year we don't have that. So this is pretty much what you have to deal with to put anything back. If you want to look at other funds, we can, other funds, you can look at some that are doing well. The Solid Waste Fund has its own funding. If you look at that, it's a couple columns over. It has a fund balance of $3,500,000. It had a surplus this year, well, estimated surplus of $526,000. Next page. If you go down to the last column, firefighting fund. this is the fund we got, we balanced the revenues expenses. But to do that, I mean, we have over 40 layoffs in that fund, and also all of the equipment taken out. I know Mr. Roy will be here at a later time to discuss that. Next page, if you go to page 5, and look at the water and sewer fund. This fund is also, since y'all increased the fees the last couple of years, is doing well. Has a fund balance of now of $4,248,000. What we were forced to do to balance in the general fund, we had several projects that were funded by the general fund, but they were water and sewer projects. What we did, it was about, around $1 million or so, $1 million in projects. We took those and shifted them over to the waterworks fund, because since now it has a fund balance, it's able to pay for its own projects. And as we all know, there's a lot of water and sewer projects out there to be done. So this thing is going up each year, and that's going to help us. You know, this is really going to help us in the long run. I think the plan that was set up was over a 10-year plan to be able to do all the projects in the water and sewer fund, so it can pay for itself. And that's why the fees went up. The last one is the boat harbor and shipyards fund. When we started off in 2017, this had a $500,000 supplement from the general fund. In the 17 budget, we cut the expenses and we raised the revenues based on the ordinance y'all passed. And we got it down to $80,000 of what we're going to supplement the boat harbor and sewer fund, if the cuts stand. So that's basically the fund balances in a nutshell. Y'all have any questions on any of that?
Any questions?
I did. The next thing I'd like to do is I have Scott Elston here, our oil and gas consultant. We'll go ahead and move to the revenues, and he can give us a little breakdown on the oil and gas, you know, where we stand, the production, and things like that. Come on up. You can sit.
Tommy, what tab would the next one be under?
What's that?
What tab?
We can go to, Scott's got his own handouts, but we can go to the supplemental tab, which is the orange tab. It says supplemental information. And if you go to the gray page, this gives you the summary of the oil and gas.
All right. I've prepared a small two-page synopsis of the oil and gas pricing and production. We've kind of talked about what Tommy had mentioned, what the budget was for 2017. It's based on $45 a barrel and $2 MCF for 2017. And what I like to do is compare I talked to the State of Louisiana Revenue Estimating Committee, in which they base the Louisiana fiscal year oil and gas pricing, and I also check and research the U.S. Energy the EIA, which is the United States Energy Information Agency. Their estimates for 2017 are $49.91 a barrel and $3.09 an MCF for the U.S. EIA, and the state had their meeting, I believe, a month and a half ago, and they did not change their price. I think they had some type of they didn't agree on a price, but they're meeting next month, and they're expected to probably increase. They're at 41.91 and 2.36 in MCF, 41.91 a barrel. So I think right now, today, I think the price is it's 47.58, the West Texas Intermediate, and natural gas is at 2.94 as of this morning. If you look at the plot for the production, I just thought this is the net oil production for the parish right here from June 2014 to July 2016. And on some of them I've handwritten, I forgot, I didn't label those plots very well. The top plot, which is the darker blue, is the total of all of the operators' production. And the one underneath it, which is the light blue, is Hillcore. So Hillcore is your number one producer in the parish. It's approximately 78% of all the production, oil production in the parish. And as you can see, that line and that production is pretty straight line. You don't see any appreciable decline in oil production there. So that's a good thing because that's where your money's coming from. And on the second page is a similar plot for the gas, and there is a decrease in gas production in the parish. And fortunately, that's not where your dollars are. So that's a good thing. Gas represents less than 10% of the dollars to oil and gas production dollars for the parish. So it is taken into account for, as you can see in the budget dollar numbers in the on the gas side. So that is taken into account. So a lot of operators, they use their gas in their operations to operate out there, on their facilities. So that's kind of, I guess, that is. And it kind of tracks, as you can see, the sum plot tracks the Hillcore track because that's where your production is coming from, mostly from Hillcore. I don't know. There's any questions or?
Any questions? Scott, what is the current budget of the state? Is it 41.91?
Yeah, right now it's 41.91 and $2.30. $2.30. And I talked to a member of the Revenue Estimating Committee, and he kind of updates me on what's going on, and they're expected to meet next month and probably increase the oil and gas numbers for 2017 for their fiscal year.
Okay. Any other questions from the table? Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
All right, Tony.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda would be to go over the revenues. If you turn to the green tab, revenues. You could just go to the white pages. I'm not going to go through every one of these lines. I'm just going to hit the ones that produce most of our revenues, and new stuff that's in here that we had talked about a little while ago. Everybody's ready?
Okay.
The first line item is the ad valorem taxes. Since we did this budget, the millage rates are the same, but I received the final tax roll, and the final tax roll actually had assessed value that was increased somewhat. So you're going to see an increase in the revenues based on that because of the final tax roll. So this is going to affect your fund balance. This is going to give you an additional around $300,000 or $400,000 for you in your fund balance. So I would suggest that we vote on this after we do the revenues. We vote on this amendment, That'll increase your fund balance, and I can give you a new number on that. So after we finish revenues, I'll go ahead and pass this out, and we can maybe vote on that amendment if y'all want to do that. First line item, as I said, is ad valorem taxes. Proposed revenues, $3,456,000 in the general fund. You'll see this in several funds. Every fund that has a ad valorem tax revenue. Sales tax revenues, $5,009,000. You compare that to the 2015 actual, it's $6,006,000. If we had on this report, we go back to 2013, it was probably well over $9 million then. You can see where your sales taxes also has decreased in the with the price of oil. Sales tax audits, $700,000. Go down a little bit to the occupational license, $800,000. Building permits, this is where you see there's a $200,000 increase. I estimate it was around $350,000, but we're hoping that the council increases the fees. I know the ordinance has been on the agenda several times. So we increased by $200,000 for a $550,000 budget for 2017. The next thing, yes, ma'am. It's an anticipated increase. Y'all would have to pass an ordinance to increase the fees for this to go into effect. If we don't do that, then we're going to have to decrease this number. The next thing, large number is the parish 10% royalties. It's $5,007,000. This is, if you look compared to 2015, $8,004,000. Severance taxes, $1 million. That's pretty much stays the same, coming from the state. The next few items, hotel motel tax, $250,000. Video poker, $250,000. These things are pretty static. They stay the same pretty much each year. Ferry tolls, you can see when we made the increase, when we did the increase, I think it was last year when y'all did an increase, it jumped up. It was only $110,000 as the actual in 2015. Already in 2016, we collected $316,000. We're estimating $420,000, and we're going to leave that the same as next year. We didn't add any increases to that. Next page. You go down to oil and gas royalties, we just had Scott speak, based on $45 a barrel. Your oil and gas royalties, your parish royalties, not your 10%, $9,007,000 we're estimating. You see that is a $2,006,000 increase over 2016 budget, which we had budgeted at $38 a barrel.
Tommy, give us the number real quick on
Okay?
every dollar. What's the increase?
What's that now? Go ahead.
Every dollar.
Every dollar, what's the increase?
300, right?
What is it, Scott?
Oh, yeah, it's around 300,000, right over 300,000. I got a report in the back of the book that shows.
Yeah, I just wanted a rough estimate.
Yeah, it's about 300,000.
And gas?
And, let's see, gas, hold on.
What do you do gas by, like every 10 cents?
Yeah, I don't really do that much on gas. Let's see, I got it right here, hold on. 52,000. It's
Per
339.
52,000 per dollar? Or per
It's
10 cent?
Per 25 cents
25 cent?
MCF, yes. It's $3.39 per $1 of oil per barrel, and 52 per MCF, 25 cents MCF gas.
So 52,000,
52, yes.
okay, now 300,000 per dollar.
Right, so if you decided to increase that.
Yeah, I know, I wanted to get the number. Thanks.
All right, the next thing we put in here that's substantial is the, if you look down at 1,000,005, line item 489,005, miscellaneous settlements. This is settlements that we've been getting all year long. These are oil and gas concursus cases. I talked to Mr. LV, and he's certain that we're going to get this 1,000,005. I wouldn't put this in here if he wasn't absolutely positive we're going to get this. He said this is stuff that's pretty much completed. He said we just won't collect it probably till 2017. The next thing to mention, you go down to line item 491,684, port interagency expenses. This is something we've been talking about doing for years, charging the port for things they use within the parish. They don't get charged, in-fund service charge like they used to before. We just put a number in here of $200,000. It was just an estimate. Like I said, it's an agreement that'll have to be worked out between the port and the parish, but we put $200,000 in here to help the revenues. The next bunch of items you'll see is the inter-fund service charges. As you know, this is based on the personal services. If you look at firefighting fund, it's $1 million. It was $1.5 million, but since with the layoffs, we proposed the layoffs, this number went down to $1 million. So if we put whatever we add back into that fund, this number should increase. It's pretty much everything for the general fund. We're going to go to the road maintenance fund. You'll see the transfer from the general fund for the road maintenance fund, $1.3 million. If you look at, compare that 2015 actual, it was $1.8 million. So that's a decrease of $500,000, and it's, the reason it went down is because of cuts we had to make. Next fund, public health fund. If you go down and look at the transfer to public health funds, $500,000. If you go back to 2015, when the ambulance service was in there, it was $3.1 million. Next fund, solid waste fund, basically just fees. Library fund, same thing. Also has ad valorem tax. Transportation fund, see criminal court fund, basically basic fees. Judicial court reporter, BWI. 911 is also a fund that gets a supplement from the general fund. The transfer from the general fund for the 911 fund is $326,000. The next one, firefighting fund. This is the one you're going to see where the revenue, the reason that it's having the issues is because it's sales taxes went down. Revenues went down just like in the general fund. Proposing the same revenues as we were in the general fund, $5,970,000. You look at the actual for 2015, it was $6,600,000. So if you go back to 2013, this was closer to $9 million. The ambulance fees, $700,000. That was an increase. We're all collecting more money in ambulances than we were before. So that did help, but it's not enough. If you could skip the next funds, these are all capital project funds. All these things have in them are basically bank service charges.
Page 30.
Go to page 30, which is water and sewer fund. Water sewer fund has its own ad valorem taxes, $1,888,000 each, and that's going to go up with this amendment that I'm requesting. The fees that you can see are going up. If you just compare the fees in Bell Chase, line item 443,005, 2005 was $2,033,000, and the proposed for 2017 is $3,020,000. And the same for each, you'll see the same for each district. If you look at line 488,901, as I discussed this earlier, this is the transfer for those capital improvements. We saved in the general fund $910,000 by making the waterworks fund pay for its own projects now. The projects that were left in the waterworks fund. And the last fund is the Boat Harbor and Shipyards Fund. You can see if you compare the revenues, you see that the increase is in here. If you just look at the first one in Empire, the actual for 2015 was $31,000, and the proposed for 2017 is $59,000. As I said earlier, the transfer from general fund in this fund now is $84,000. That's what we're proposing. It was $395,000 in 2015, and the budget for 2016 was $526,000, $500,000. that's basically it on the revenues. If you have any questions,
Any questions from the table?
you want to go back to anything, we can do that. What I'd like to do now is pass out this proposed amendment. This is the amendment to increase the ad valorem taxes in each fund. You'll see you'll have 6 different amendments, and it's just to put the amount in each separate fund. This is going to help you increase your fund balance in the general fund by $382,000.
Mr. Chairman,
So this is going to,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Are you discussing the fire department funding as well at this point in time?
weekend, whatever y'all.
No, I'm just asking, are you doing that now?
No,
Because I have,
We're just doing the amendments right
this,
now.
yeah, this
you have an
amendment,
amendment for the fire department in it?
no.
All right,
This is just for the, all the funds that have to do with ad valorem taxes.
Okay. We're gonna do those now,
Down that way,
Tommy?
and I'll be deal.
Yeah.
Tom, do you have any legislation, or do we even want to have a discussion about possibly moving the oil projections and gas projections up or down?
I don't have any amendments for that. That's something, we can do that. I mean, if that's what you want to do.
I mean, we could probably start at the rates you have it proposed, but I do think we might have a little bit of leverage, maybe 750,000 or so.
If y'all want to go up to around 48, you mean? around-
Now, like 4750, and then moving the MPF up to 2 and,
Move it up a little bit.
right.
Whatever y'all choose. Just tell us what, if y'all want us to do an amendment, we can draw it up, you know?
No, I mean, I think it's something we can discuss
Okay.
based on Scott's presentation and a little bit I know about the oil and gas industry.
Did Scott leave?
I think he left.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can call him and get any, if y'all have any questions on anything, if y'all want to talk about that.
Does this affect just regular royalties or 10% too?
All right,
It's 10% too.
Tommy?
Yes,
Get
sir.
all the amendments, and we're gonna take,
That's the whole amendment, yeah.
okay,
Take
them in.
Gave them all out.
Give them all out.
You gonna vote on my Globo, Tommy?
Look, right behind you.
Tommy?
Yeah, we can, if you want to. You're gonna,
It's everything that you just went over, correct?
correct. You're gonna number them separate? I mean, we can go through each one of them if y'all want to, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest we do them individually if you don't mind. This is budget time.
You wanna do,
Would you please?
okay?
We can go through them real fast. You look at the first page, ad valorem tax for general fund. You see the fund at the top. It's general fund. Each one of them is going to be ad valorem tax, $226,980. The next one is the water and sewer fund. It has two taxes, the pollution control and the water tax, $124 each. Solid waste, we're going to increase the incinerator and the waste disposal tax, total of $246,830. Road maintenance, increase $93,650. And the public health fund, increase $62,020. The only funds that are going to affect the general fund are the general fund, the public health, and the road maintenance funds.
We good.
The rest of them have their own fund balances, and it won't help Janet.
Never mind. I can print.
Do them all? Yeah. Do them all in Globo? Okay.
Yeah, because
Is there any objection doing them all in Globo? Okay. I'll offer these six amendments and ask for a second. Thank you, Mr. Edgecombe. Any questions on these amendments? Audience? Two, please call the roll.
Who seconded it?
Yes.
Yes.
Robin was in the air.
Yeah.
Where's the book?
You have the book.
Okay, the amendment's passed? Okay, 9-0. Okay, Tommy, what can we move to next?
All right. Going to the agenda, we can move to manpower, if y'all want to do that.
Yep. What tab is it?
Okay, I'm coming. Trying to get straight.
Green tab, Tommy?
Yes, sir, green tab. Well, we can go to the yellow pages first. We're gonna, we're gonna go to, we're gonna have to go through this, quite extensively, so I really want to go through every one of these reports.
All right, go ahead,
Everybody
Tommy.
ready? Basically, what we did is we set up, this first page is a summary that shows the changes in the manpower table that we're proposing. It all has different colors, and the colors are going to mean something on each different report that you look at. The first one, the purple, first line, layoffs. Now, this is for all funds. This is not just for the general fund, but I think most of the layoffs we did affected the general fund, the road maintenance fund, any funds that are supplemented by the general fund, and firefighting also. So layoffs, savings between salaries, FICA, retirement insurance, was $5,112,000, 91 positions. This includes the positions that are in the firefighting fund. Next line, which is blue, the unbudgeted vacancies. These are positions that are in the budget, but are vacant, but still budgeted. We took a lot of them out, but it's probably the last 3 months. These positions are added up. So 35 positions, that's a savings of $1,008,000. So basically, if you pass the book the way it is with these positions in it, you won't be able to hire these in 2017 because we're taking the funding out. The status changes. This is one department. We're proposing to change several of the positions from full-time to part-time. It's a savings of $543,000. This is the drainage department, only the drainage department. You'll see that in the back when we get to it. Transfers there is one position that we decided, we had talked about this in the past, to transfer and to combine two departments together, and this is just transferring one position to the other.
Council just transferred to separate.
What's that?
The council.
Oh, the council, right.
Did separate
We have some other, I'll show you when I get to it, but we have some other departments that were divided by divisions. They had divisions. Ferry department was one of them. It had general, it had Belchase, and it had Port Lahash. What we did, we figured that the best way to do it was just to combine the three together, because the way that the department is running right now, it's not just using people that's in the Port Lahash, those positions there. It's not just using the operating budget just in Port Lahash or Belchase. It's kind of combining them now. So we just combined them all together and made a general department. So there's substantial cuts to that department, and so he's just going to have to figure out the money that he has, what's the best way to run the department. The administration will have to do that. But we'll see that, and you'll see that in several different departments we did that with. If you turn the page, maybe we could go through each one of these separately if y'all want to do that. I guess the best way to do it, like I said, the purple is the layoffs. If you look at the little item up above, it's orange, it says total department eliminated. So when you get to orange, that means that we took not just the position out, but we took out the whole department, the operating budget, the whole thing. First line is the internal audit department, the assistant internal audit position, eliminated. The next line, and you'll see judges A, B, the district attorney, the coroner, and the assessor, we all decreased by 10%. So their personal services would decrease by 10% as well as their operating budget. Next one is courthouse security, A security officer, we're decreasing that position. Parish President's Department, executive assistant. Legal services is a assistant parish attorney and a paralegal. Public awareness department, total department elimination. Safety, total department elimination. Economic development, total department elimination. Finance, there's a part-time finance manager. Human resources, secretary. Community action, 2 bus drivers, 2 bus driver positions. Recreation is total department elimination. All of the positions in recreation are coming out. I think there is some money we left in there that was for electricity and for utilities, just a minimal amount.
Let me ask you a question. Why would you do that?
We were just trying to get savings, that's all. I mean, if this,
So by eliminating the entire Department of Recreation? I mean, I'm just curious as to how, and maybe inform everybody of how this whole process takes place.
well, the way it took place is we started out with an amount that we had to cut. It was around $11 million for the general fund. We just started going through each one of these departments with the administration and stuff that we had talked about in the past, and just started taking some of it out.
So,
Basically, what we had to do.
I guess my question is, I mean, this is obviously just a proposal, but so it's the administration's recommendation to eliminate recreation?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
The next one is Parks, Fort Jackson, Public Groundskeeper. The next one is GIS Analyst, Technician. The next one is several positions in the Ferry Department. Drainage, Secretary. Coastal Zone Management, it's Coastal Zone Director. FEMA Management, this is a total department elimination. Bridges, total department elimination. Signs, department elimination. Health Department, Clerk 2 and a Public Health Nurse. Firefighting, this is where you're going to see quite a few decreases. Firefighting Bell Chase, there's 2 firefighting operators. Lake Hermitage, 5. Port Sulphur, 1. Woodlawn, 3. Point Lahash, 3. And several positions in the ambulance department.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Bothami?
very much concerned about this the layoff of the fire department because a proposition was passed, some tax was passed to protect fire in this parish and also make sure the employees are whole. And when we put the ambulance department in, we circumvented that. And it may not be kosher, it may be against the law. Because now the fire department's not functioning. Will not function to its expectation. So I would ask that the administration get the attorneys to look into that and to see the validation of it. Because I honestly feel that if the people have spoken about passing the millage to have fire protection, that's the way we need to operate. What the people say, not what we say, but what the people say. And this is a people government. That's all, Mr. Chairman, but Mr. President, I'd like to look into that for me, please.
Yeah, I can tell you where to look, too, Mr. President. When we passed that resolution, ordinance 9-0, the legal department did do research and asked for an Attorney General opinion. I think Mr. Landry actually wrote up the, or Mr. Rennie Burris at the time, wrote up the question and asked the Attorney General his opinion on that merger, which it is valid. I would like to just remind everybody this is just a proposal. Obviously, the administration just pretty much gave us some unrealistic challenges, and I think we'll resolve those issues.
I have no concern but an opinion, just what it is, an opinion. Everybody has opinion. District Attorney, the State Attorney General has opinion. But the fact remains, according to the charter and to the law, what was passed, the proposition what was passed, if it impedes the purpose of what that legislation was passed for, then that changes the whole process. It changes. So, I mean, ask them if it changes the output and see what kind of opinion you'll receive.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, next one, Boat Harbor, Venice, a guard and a helper. Boat Harbor's Point Lahash, a groundskeeper and a guard. Next page,
Excuse me, are we coming back to this?
Eventually, yeah. He's just going through them right now. Okay. You want to address them now?
Well, the point is that if we're going to eliminate the position, then who's going to do the work at these particular marinas, especially when you're lifting boats? One man can't do that. You can't have one man on a machine and nobody else around to block it up, things of that nature. Then that could be a serious problem. Then where's the liability if something do happen? So I think you need to consider either shut it down altogether and don't use it, you know, or if you're going to use it, you have to have the people to provide the services that we provide. So those are things that's going to have to be addressed when you look at it. Even in Venice itself, when you have the shipyard, an Empire. I don't know how they do it in Empire. Look like they got on one person down there. Huh?
I think they ought to set a schedule, and specific days. If they're gonna eliminate positions and have only one person at each harbor, I think they need to schedule days to pick up boats in each location that has a shipyard for the employees to rotate.
Yeah, but I don't believe, and not to say it won't, but I don't think that'll work.
Actually, that's what they've been doing last.
They ain't been doing that on the east side, because you have people from the west side coming to the east side to get picked up. And that's the problem, is all of them try to do it at a certain time of year. That's what creates the problem. It's not that it cannot be done, but those are seasonal things that they do. It's not sporadic, you know. And that's all I'm saying. But, you know, we do without a vote. Whatever council decides to do, that's the way it is. I'm just throwing it out there, putting it out there for discussion.
Mr. Terrio?
Councilman Badala, we had to do that, like Thomas said, just to balance the budget. Now the council and administration has to decide what services are prioritized in their order and have the employees to provide that service.
I agree. I understand that quite well. But all I'm saying, for liability purposes, we can't do certain services,
Correct.
you know,
That's
unless
what
we
we
have
have to
some
do.
kind of system in place.
That's what we have to decide on today, yes.
Right, but I think that this should be a dual effort. I understand that y'all, you know, it should be, okay, these are our recommendations, but I don't think you need to recommend, you know, eliminating the whole Department of Recreation. That's the issue that I have, because it looks like it's all on the council's back, all the decisions that are being made.
Well, when we looked at our water situation, especially in the lower end, low water, East Bank, cast iron pipe with rusted water, buying water from Jefferson Parish, those are the things we have to look at. But now the council has the ultimate decision. You know.
Right.
Whatever the council chooses, we'll concur.
Hey, Tommy, y'all could have saved a lot of time and took $5 million from emergency fund and about $3 million from bond indebtedness and just gave it to us like that. I mean, well, how much, well,
yeah, we can't, that's the problem with it.
I mean,
No, that's what I'm telling you. I want you to understand, that's the problem with this. We can't do that. We have to give you a balanced budget. And I know there's a lot of stuff that's taken out of there. I mean, there was no choice. The way we had to kind of look at it is safety. What's the most important things? Drainage, flood control, things like that. That's why recreation was taken out. I mean, that's, you know, we're talking to Mr. Ed, that's why we had to take those things out.
no, I get it, but I just don't want to go through all these yellow pages and without letting everybody on the council understand that this is totally unrealistic, so we don't have to really need to discuss every line item. We're going to change it anyway. I mean, you obviously do not want to eliminate recreation in its entirety. That's obvious. You obviously don't want to eliminate the folks at the boat harbors.
They're going to be part of the
That's right.
priorities, yeah.
So, you know, I don't think we need to sit and belabor all, you know, 40
And
pages.
that's the thing, though, you have a limited amount of funds, and that's, you're gonna have to decide which ones you wanna put back in. I mean, you know, the way that we had to do it was basically to decide which ones, you know, we didn't wanna we couldn't get rid of all the drainage, we couldn't get rid of flood control, we had to keep those kind of things. So, I mean, recreation's not something that doesn't have its own funding source, so it was something that had to go.
We looked at what affected our citizens the most, and we try to stay with that.
But we're not allowed, we can't use the fund balances, that's the problem. We have to balance the
Yeah,
revenue.
no, I get it.
expenses. So that's why it was done that way.
All right, we continuing, Tommy, on?
Yeah. Okay, if you go
One
to the
over
next
here.
pages,
It's all unbudgeted?
yeah, on page 6, These are all unbudgeted vacancies. I mean, I don't know if you want to go through each one of these items, but these are vacancies that are out there that we took out that haven't been filled. So these are not layoffs, these are just positions that we're taking out.
What's the total on the,
What's the total on the unbudgeted?
1,878,000.
do you have an ordinance, for that one, just simply for that one?
To put all the unbudgeted.
You talking about all the unbudgeted?
Yeah.
It's part of the book, so we don't have to do an amendment for it. If you, the only time you need to do an amendment if you want to put something back. So if you want to put a position back and you don't want to take it out, then we need to do an amendment. But I failed to go through that. The book, the way the book is, if you vote on it all right now, we didn't do any amendments, then this will become the budget for 2017. Anything you change, you have to do an amendment to amend the book.
Well, I'd like to propose to my colleagues, if we can just, for these two pages, 6 and 7, I mean, if we can agree to just unfund all of these positions. I
You
mean,
just
just look through these two, and that's $1.8 million right there.
Right. You're just going to leave it, and
Or
you're just leave it
$1.9.
like it is.
Yeah,
Well, I said, this is part of the budget already.
I
so
understand.
It's not going to help you any, but,
yeah.
okay, I can go through them if you want me to do that.
No, I don't want you to go through them, I just want,
That's
just
fine.
people take a look at
We're
it.
functioning with them, they're vacant right now, currently,
Yes, they're
right?
vacant now, correct. Okay, if you want to go to page 8, we can look at the status change one that was on the first page. This is a proposal to change the pump station operators from full-time to part-time. This is budgeting them at 50% of the time worked and taking out their benefits. It's $543,000.
What is the savings?
$543,000 total.
Okay, from-
So they will
If we-
receive no benefits, as being part-time employees, no benefits, correct?
No benefits. They'll be full-time, part-time employees, and we only budget them at half the time that, you know, it's not a 40-hour work week,
Do
it's
we have
20, I think it's
someone
20,
from
right?
drainage here?
I think Greg too.
I would like to know how this would affect the function of the department as a whole in reference to if, you know, we get excessive rain and things of that nature. And also if in fact it is part-time, is there any way that your employees, I mean, if we leave them at full-time, is there any way your employees can multitask and do other things for other departments if needed?
We already do that, Nicole.
Okay.
The consensus I've gotten back from my employees in my department is that if this does go through like it's proposed, that they will be forced to go seek employment elsewhere. When they do seek employment elsewhere, there's no guarantee that they would even be available to work part-time for the parish. And these guys, it's labeled as pump station operators, but they actually are my maintenance crew, and they do, from time to time, help out other departments. And I have some guys that are in the drop, and also some that have finished the drop that are currently still employed with us. And they would basically just go ahead and opt to retire and leave, and they'd make more money that way.
Greg, I have a question.
Yes,
How many pumping stations do we have total?
22,
And how many operators do we have?
16. And
16.
so we get a big rain event parish-wide.
With one operator mans a pumping station?
Yes.
On a 12-hour shift?
Well, it depends on the duration of the rain event. If it's just 4 hours and they can handle it in 4 hours, they take care of it. Then they're on to other tasks or whatever, because when you
They don't-
run, you break down, you have
We
problems.
haven't
you
had
have to
rain
solve.
in 2 months. Do they come in and do an 8-hour shift?
Yes.
And what is their,
They're
Yeah.
responsible for grounds maintenance of the buildings, the grounds. We maintain all the vegetation in our drainage canals parish-wide, which is over 120 miles of canals. We spray